restoring Illinois to greatness. This is Illinois Rising, presented by the Illinois Policy Institute and hosted by AM 560's Dan Proft.
Dan Proft back with Ted Dabrowski, Vice President of Policy at the Illinois Policy Institute. And Ted, Lane Neckridge, she's this Democrat state legislator from Northbrook, another one of these men and women of always in Illinois. And she's one of these kind of North Shore types that pretends to be post-partisan, but she's really just a liberal hack. And let me give you an illustration of this so you don't find it to be an unfounded contention on my part, because I'd hate for you to do that. She said of Governor Rauner describing the reality on the ground in Illinois, the reality of our economy, the reality of our business climate, she said, I think we can do more of selling ourselves rather than selling ourselves short. That may be nice for a T-shirt, but, these kind of whimsical, falsely optimistic cliches that political ruling class types like Neckritz trot out to pretend like, why so down in the dumps? Why so gloomy? If we put on a happy face, we don't have to change anything we're doing. All of a sudden, things are going to be better. We're great. Pay no mind to all of the quality of life indicators. I mean, it's just so tiresome. And this, she says, against the backdrop of one of our state's leading employers, Caterpillar, announcing 300 layoffs this week.
It's fascinating. It just reminds you of that person who tries to sell you something, but that they're not telling the truth. And imagine trying to tell somebody, "Hey, come to Chicago. Don't worry about the crime. Don't worry about the schools. Everything's
Don't worry
fine.
about the property taxes.
Don't worry about the property taxes." Or, "Hey, move into Illinois, and I forgot to tell you. Here's your bill for the property taxes. Here's your bill for the pensions that you have to pay down because it's so high." You got to tell the truth to people, and I think the only way you solve problems, anybody who has a real problem or has ever had a real problem, the only way you solve it is if you face it, if you admit it, and then you put a plan together.
Well, here's the problem, and not just that she's a ruling class Paul and she's a pawn of the Democrat machine. She's a wholly owned subsidiary of Mike Madigan, the Elaine Neckritz, who pretends to be one of these self-styled independents on the North Shore who's always doing the bidding of big government Chicago Democrats, and she's one of them. She's also one of the two categories of residents that are increasingly the only cohorts left in Illinois. One are beneficiaries of transfer payments. Two is those who are insulated from terrible public policy decisions because of their wealth. And she's got a rich lawyer husband, works at a big downtown firm, and she's got, her phony baloney job in Springfield she's had for the last decade, and the pension and all the other associated benefits. So you live in Northbrook and you play this game of trying to be post-partisan and trying to work with both sides to find solutions. And, in typical fashion, she's only been there a decade plus. So, that's not enough of a probationary period to judge whether Elaine Neckritz is actually part of trying to reverse course in Illinois and improve people's quality of life and solve some of the problems that we all recognize. So we've got to give her more time to spew these fortune cookie bromides.
Well, I think, if she could say some of those things if she were one of the bold reformers. It's one thing if you're saying, hey, we have problems, but we also have great assets in Illinois. We know those great assets that we have. But if she were the bold reformer that was trying to transform the property tax issue that's killing people, the manufacturing losses that are just destroying the state and in the working class, the higher and higher taxes and the pension problem we have. But she's not a leader in those things. She's right there with Madigan in keeping the status quo. So she has no right, I think, to say what she's saying.
Right, and at some point it would be nice if all those uber-educated denizens of the North Shore would stop falling for the same rap over and over again, where your local Democrat hack legislators trot out the reform rhetoric and they go to Springfield and they're just another brick in the wall.